Last class we talked about mycology. Mycology is we learning about the fungi and it causes the illness. We say we have two different kinds of fungi. One is yeast. Another one is mold. The growing way is a little bit different. So for yeast, it's the single cell. Single cell structures. So like we can see that this picture pretty similar. We say single cell. When we're talking about the cell, we know that's basic structures. Nucleus in the center, and then the membranes and the cytoplasm. That's the basic structure of the cell. So single cells means they only have like one cell from one yeast. But certainly it's possible some cells and cells connected each other, like a group in there. Basically, it's not only one yeast. It's a few of the yeast group each other. But the single one is one cell. We have another form we call mold. The mold's growing way is a little bit different. So basically they go, I think they have a picture later. Basically they grow in, look like still a cell in there, but they grow in pretty long. Yeah, where my picture? No. Okay, let's try a picture here. So basically this kind of molds, they grow in, they still have cells in there, but maybe a couple of cells, but they grow in pretty long filaments. Yeah, pretty long filaments. And the filaments like could connect each other. That's we talking about the form a mold. So that's the difference. Molds and yeast. And for fungi can cause the illness of the human being. Separate three different kinds. The first kind we call infections. So infection kind of illness is caused by fungi, pretty similar like we're talking about virus infection or maybe bacterial infection. And we also have fungi infection. It's depending where it is infected, like different organs, they cause the different problems. Different tissues, they cause different problems. But generally say, like people feel sick or maybe fever. And if just locally, maybe swollen, runny, and painful. So that's if invading to the lung, can cause a cough, lung, chest pain. So that's totally depending where it is infected. So this part, pretty similar when we're talking about other microorganism infections. And it also have other special kind fungi illness. So one of them is toxin. Toxin caused by fungi. So that's pretty commonly cause of digestion issue. Digestion toxins. So like people eating some special kind of fungi, usually it's mushroom. Yeah, usually it's mushroom. Mushroom belong to fungi. Mushroom belong to fungi. And then in some of the mushroom, not all of the mushroom, they may have toxins. The very severe kind of mushroom, they even have 5 of different kinds of toxins. It truly causes people sick coming from toxins. So when digestion system get toxins, usually people like vomiting, nausea, diarrhea, abdominal painful, severe kind of case truly can cause people die. So that's still a big deal for the toxin coming from the fungi. Another kind of sick caused by fungi is allergy reaction. So allergy reactions mainly coming from the fungi spores. So fungi spores usually like inhaled by some people and then cause the asthma reaction. So that's 2 special kind of fungi can cause special kind of illness of the human. When we make diagnosis, when we talk about the diagnosis, it means people getting sick or illness. We need to figure out what's the reason caused. And passengers is one of the reasons. But we still need to figure out what kind of pathogen, what kind of microorganism cause the illness. So that means we need to find fungi in some way, and then we can diagnose it. So that kind of illness caused by fungi. So we can go for a second, make sure that the fungi cause the illness. Like we're talking about the same illness, like pneumonia. It's possible caused by virus, possible caused by bacteria, and possible caused by fungi. Certainly, clinical symptoms may be a little bit different, even all the pneumonia, like a cough, phlegm, fever, chest pain, but like how long time we got fever, and how high of the fever. So some symptoms may be a little bit different. We couldn't only by the symptoms make a clear diagnosis for what kind of pathogen caused the pneumonia. So thus we need a laboratory diagnosis. So the first way, we directly use microscope to see. So basically take some samples from the patient, maybe come from the phlegm, maybe take some samples from patient's salt air, even use special kind of tools we can directly put into patient's lungs and then take some sample there. And usually there are glass kind of plant there, and this put a little bit sample here and put under the microscope to see. So we try to find the fungi directly from microscope. Certainly, if we find fungi in there, that's the illness caused by fungi. Sometimes the sample is too small. So that smaller is not that easily to see directly from the microscope. Then we culture it. When we culture it means we use a special kind of container and put a lot of nutrients, like a semi-liquid or semi-solid in there, kind of liquid, but a lot of nutrients. And put a little bit sample there and cover it. If no other microorganism inside which is waiting that kind of passenger inside the sample, they go up. So when they go up, certainly they are easily to find it. So that's the future rate. But the future rate takes some time. The future rate takes some time. It's depending what kind of passenger in there. We can filter for this way for bacteria and fungi, but not able for the virus. Like we talked about before, virus must be reproduction in the living cells. So that kind of culture, we are not truly use the living cells. We just put some mutation there. So virus culture we talked about before. Like firstly, we use the egg. And we still use egg to culture the virus. Egg is the living cell. Egg is the living cell. But bacterial fungi, we can just put some mutations and then culture. So that's the second way we culture it and then find fungi. The third way we find DNA. Special kind of test for special kind of fungi. We say fungi is at least a single cell in there and in the nucleus some DNA in there. So we specially can test for the DNA. And the special DNA show up, that means special kind of fungi in there. Another one is blood test. So basically blood test, we test for antibody. Like if patient got fungi infections and even other pathogen infections like bacteria and virus, the body will produce special kind of antibody. We say antibody belong to special immunity. So if we got special test and we find special antibody against fungi, that means that is fungi infection. So that's the full aspected laboratory test. The treatment. So treatment, the medication or drugs against the fungi, we have two different kinds. That's one kind, and we have another kind. So these two medications, especially against the fungi, because they're working for fungi cells memory. And the fungi cells memory is different with bacteria and the difference with humans. So that means this kind of medication is not truly working for the bacteria because their structure is different. And it's not working for the human cells memory. That means it is not damage human cells memory. So kind of protection for the humans, especially working for fungi cells memory and kill the fungi. Then we go to few illness caused by fungi last week. The first illness, clinically sometimes we can see CANDIDA is a category. Is a category of the fungi. They have different kinds. In this category, we have a special kind that usually show up white color. So that's the Latin word for white. we still remember in our blood circulation, plasma, blood plasma, we have three categories for protein. One protein start from the word here. That means white. So that's mainly important in this category of fungi. They can cause the people illness in different parts of the body. Maybe in the south, maybe in the regional area cause the infection in there, and maybe cause the infection in the digestion tract, and maybe cause the infection for babies. The skin around the arms area, usually something wet in there. And also can cause chronic infection. So that's pretty common. So they say these fungi look like common, but clinically still not that common compared with bacterial infection, compared with virus infection. And it belongs to normal flora. We're talking about normal flora before. We say when we're talking about bacteria, we say in the superficial of our skin, or maybe inside of our mouth or south area, even in our large intestine, we have a lot of bacteria. But they are not always cause the illness. They keep some the balance there. So that kind of situation, we say that's the normal flora. And these special kind of fungi also belong to normal flora. They can live on our skin inside the mouth, south area. So that's usually not cause the illness. On the skin. Almost everybody have this kind of fungi, but they are not here that often. People got this kind of illness caused by fungi. So that's because like bacteria and fungi, even different kind of bacteria, they keep some balance in some way. Different kind of bacteria and fungi, they keep the balance. So what will be happen? Cause the infection. One situation, the balance is broken. Like clinically, people got bacterial infections. For example, in the lung, we're still talking about in the lung because lung is pretty easily got bacterial infection. That's we call pneumonia. So pneumonia caused by some special kind of bacterial infections, we need to use antibiotics. We try to kill the bacteria in the lung, try to treat the pneumonia. But antibiotics sometimes they also kill other bacteria, like some bacteria on the superficial of the skin, some bacteria in our south area, inside the mouth, on the mucosa membrane there. So we say originally they keep a balance bacteria with the fungi. Now we use medication kill the bacteria. Even we are not specially kill the bacteria in the superficial of the skin, in the mouth, but they work in the same time. And then fungi amount got increased, reproduction faster, and a big amount, then they will cause the illness. So that's the one situation clinically possible happens. People use antibiotics for long term, maybe cause the fungal infection. Another kind of situation, we say our skin protecting ourselves, usually not cause the infection, but if skin is injured, damaged, or injured, that's possible cause infection. Not only fungi, maybe bacteria, maybe virus, maybe fungi. So skin is our first line of the immunity system, protected of ourselves. So we say fungal infections usually cause the immunity function deficiency, maybe locally, maybe the whole body, because it's systemic. Then the illness really happen. So pretty commonly we can see in the mouth, and we also can see in the vagina area. So that's certainly depending the local situation. If they cause the infection in the soft area, we even can see a white patch inside the mouth. And the symptoms usually some painful in there and difficult swallowing, difficult eating, and also can cause like a fever. And if they cause infection in the vagina area, so basically it's kind of itchy and some discharging. So that's basically clinical symptoms. And also depending local like pH levels, how they grow fast. So this picture especially show us this kind of fungi happens inside the mouth. You can see a white color like a mud here. They cover most part inside the mouth memory here. And that happens in babies, the baby's skin, some redness in there, and cause painful and itching. Treatment. We say we have two different kind of category medication. We can specially treat it. So that's basically and prevention. Prevention basically we don't have special kind of vaccine. Just try to keep normally microorganism balance in our body will not cause the illness. So that's for this one. And the second illness, I believe everybody pretty familiar with this. That's even more popular compared with the first one. Fungal infection. Fungal infection go to superficial of the skin. Usually happens on the nail or skin on the feet. That's most commonly. And certainly sometimes it can happen in other parts of the body, like in the hair area or just in the body. But if infections, not deeper, just superficial. It is not invading inside the body organs, but still cause people's troubles. It's chronic problem, chronic infection, usually local problems. So that this picture here is locally some runny dark color in there, and can cause the patient itching. Usually not cause the pain, mainly cause the itching. And if they happens on the nails get thick and easily broken, and sometimes dark yellow color in it, and pretty difficult to treat. But it's not cause the severe kind of trouble, like not cause the people die, not cause the internal organs disorder. This is but pretty hard to treat. The third one we're talking about still fungi infection in there. This one is not that often or not that common happens, but if it causes illness, it will be very, very severe kind of illness. It can cause meningitis. So meningitis is the illness happens in the cover of the brain and the spinal cord. So we have three covers there. And some infection happens in the cover. Clinically, mainly symptoms: patient fever, suddenly headache, nausea, vomiting, severe kind of vomiting. Severe kind of vomiting, like vomiting everything out. Vomiting everything out. So that's a severe kind of problems. If not treated properly, people may be dead. So that's we say it's not a common illness like we always heard about common cold, flu, or pneumonia. But if it happens, this is very, very severe. Immunity system decreasing kind of patient possible easily get it, including other people immunity decrease. So that's this kind of fungi is a single cell kind of we call yeast. And this kind of fungi or yeast transmission way usually coming from the bird. Coming from the bird dripping, like poop. And then they put in the salt, and the people touching. And the people especially have immunity system deficiency. Then they got infection. So sometimes the fungi, when fungi grows in, like that pretty easily go to the air, and the people inhale this kind of contaminated kind of air and inhale. So then people got illness. The bird they transmission this kind of fungi, but itself is not got infection. And these illness luckily not transmit from people to people. So that's why we are not that common got this kind of illness. Even some people got this illness, they are not transmitted for other people. So we say they can cause the lung infection. We talk about it's inhale first. But lung infection, some people maybe no symptoms. Some people may be called pneumonia. we're still talking about the balance between people's immunity functions and the passengers, like the amount, like the toxins of severe, and cause the illness or not cause the illness. So basically, we're still talking about immunity function deficiency kind of patients pretty easily cause the illness. And also, when they cause the illness, maybe not only pneumonia, they may invade other organs, like we're talking about before, the cover of the brain or even other organs, cause infection. So that's taken out these kind of pneumonia infections. So the picture here, we're talking about laboratory diagnosis. Like pneumonia, meningitis still can cause by different microorganisms. Still possible caused by bacteria or maybe virus or maybe fungi. So if we try to make diagnosis, we truly need to find what kind of pathogen in there. So we take spinal fluid and special dye with Indian ink. Then we can find this special kind of yeast cell. So how we can take spinal fluid. When people have meningitis, we say that the cover of our brain, they have three covers there, but fluid circulates from the cover of the brain to the cover of the spinal. If we cut in here, make a transfer right here, that means cover the spinal, so the fluid go to here. And also our spinal cord, generally they will stop or in L1 or L2 level. Means under the vertebrae, L1, L2, they don't have spinal cord. Just some nervous bunch, coming from there, coming out. So that area basically more fluid in it. So basically, if we try to take some spinal fluid, usually we go to below L3, that's the safety place. We can take some spinal fluid there. And that fluid connected with the cover with the brain. So meningitis happens in there and the fluid circulation. Then we take the fluid from here, we still got the information, the cover of the brain. So that means that's the easy way we can get some simple. We try to find the yeast. So under the microscope, we can see this special kind of yeast, and cover a single kind of capsule. So that's especially for this kind of fungi.
Dr. Tripp?
Yes.
Same way that you do a halo test for like head trauma in patients, like spinal fluid is the same thing where it's sort of impermeable to blood. Is it impermeable to ink too? Is that why this happens? And the ground stain is not reliable?
Yeah, ground stain may be good for the bacteria, but not good for the fungi because their memory is different. So that's why fungi will not separate by gram stain. With this special kind of fungi, we use different kind of way try to find it.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, so gram stain not truly working for fungi and that's mainly just for bacteria because the structure is different. That's why we especially go to EDI ink. So that in long term, like a practice, the laboratory, they try to different way, get dye or getting whatever for different kind of pathogen. They try to find a different way to identify. So treatment, yes, treatment still use the similar medication we talked about before. Yeah, still similar medication. That's especially working for fungi. Yeah, not fully working for bacteria, not fully working for virus, but it can working for fungi. Another unit we talked about the last time. So that's called the still belong to fungi unit. And the transmission way pretty similar like last one. Still bird dripping. Still bird dripping. And the bird still not got infection, but their drippings go to the soil, and then like some people contaminate or inhale this kind of have some fungi inside of soil and then got infection. So still, yeah, still not that common. Still not that common. Some people got infections. Still possible, no symptoms. But they still possible cause pneumonia. And still can possible cause other organs infection. And still mostly people have immunity function deficiency kind of patients. Symptoms is more severe. It usually cause some ulcers on the tongue. And also possible cause the whole blood cell, including white blood cell, red blood cell, and platelets number decrease. So that still kind of balance body immunity with the pathogen toxins. Treatment basically, if no symptoms, not necessary to treat. And if they cause the severe kind of symptoms, we still take a similar medication. That's a category medication there. Even sometimes you see the different name, but still the same category. With a patient with chronic problems like chronic immunity deficiency, we still can take some like the medication, try to treat it, but not fully prevent it. So that's basically for these illness. And the next fungi illness, still not that popular. Still not that popular. This is kind of illness we're usually talking about. They have long form, and they can form the path. And this one is pretty light. It's pretty easily transmission by the wind. That means patient pretty easily inhale and pretty easily cause lung infection. Clinically, still some people no symptoms. And some people got symptoms. These symptoms pretty like people got flu, like like a fever, cough, uncomfortable feeling. So that's mostly. Still about 50% of people maybe got, we're talking about some changing the lungs, still talking about lung infection, pneumonia. Treatment, treatment. Still no symptoms, not necessary to treatment. And if symptoms severe, we still get the same medication to treat. So that's coming from last class. We're talking about the fungi infections. And last class, we also talking some virus infections. Can you see? Or I need to?
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so last class, so we finished some virus infections in last week. So last class, we talking about special kind of virus. It's transmitted by some bugs, like mosquitoes and ticks. So that kind of bug can transmission some special kind of virus, like people beating by the mosquitoes. And then they can cause some severe kind of illness. So the transmission way, it must be beaten by some bugs. And then they transmission special kind of virus through people's blood and go to different organs. So that's mainly transmission way. So that sometimes maybe cause very severe kind of illness by this kind of bug transmission. So these kind of virus, basically they have the circle between the human being and the some bugs. Sometimes it's the bird, or go to the bird. So like the mosquito transmit, they beating the bird, and then they beating the human. Sometimes for some virus, they possible transmission from the human to human, but most case they transmission between the bird to the human. So that's basically for this kind of illness. We say occasionally transmission from human to human because the virus in human blood circulation, even virus in there, but its amount is pretty low. You can think about how much body weight is the human being and how much the weight of the bird. And also sometimes the virus maybe not cause the bird illness, they just carry the virus. So that's like virus is much more compared with in the human body. So that's like a transmission way mainly from the bird to bugs to the humans. And also sometimes they transmit to some animals also. So the like the bird transmit kind of illness, they transmit to the humans. Usually it's ending. It's ending. We say it's not that common transmit to other people, but truly they transmit from the animals to the humans or from birds to the humans. Clinical symptoms will be depending where the virus infections happen. May be very severe, may be not that severe. It's totally depending where it got infection. We say if they go to the brain, that means the brain infection. Infection happens in our brain. If they go to brain infection, it's pretty severe kind of illness. It's pretty easily caused people die. So brain infections, high fever, vomiting, and also people may be caused mental diffusion or even coma and even death. So that's if infected brain. And if we're checking laboratory test, so we still say white blood cell may be decreased. And the infection to the brain, usually they also can cause some like changing in the fluid inside the brain. So we still can take the same examinations and take some spinal fluid to do the test and find the virus. And hemorrhage kind of fever means patient's fever also same time have bleeding problems. Usually we can see in the brain, in the skin. They also possible cause some bleeding internally, some organs, cause the organ bleeding. So that's still can cause by some special kind of virus. And also can cause some muscle painful association, fever and muscle pain, and even joint pain. And maybe cause kind of skin rushing, but not truly bleeding. We just separate three categories here. We have second category, also bleeding problem. So third category, which is called no bleeding, but still reaction or skin rash happens in the skin. So that's caused by the virus transmission mainly by the bug, mainly the mosquito. So luckily, it's not that common happening here. So that's basically, but if some people travel, so that kind of lot of mosquitoes area or bus area need to be careful, and they may transmit some special kind of illness or people coming back from that area. When we're talking about virus last time, HIV. So HIV is a virus. They especially injure humans' immunity system and cause immunity system deficiency. So that's why the virus name coming from. And the illness name, we say S. That's the whole name means patient is not naturally, it's caused by some reasons and then cause the immunity system deficiency. that's lot of symptoms together we call syndrome. Yeah. Syndrome is lot of symptoms together. So for HIV virus, they still have different types. In different area, but clinically they are pretty similar. So that's basically structure of the eyes. Yeah. Some genes in the center. That's RNA kind of genes. And then they have special cover. And also they have other proteins that we call development and protein. Transmission rate, everybody pretty familiar already. Sex activity and blood. And also, especially from mom to the new baby, and maybe feeding the baby. So people got HIV infections. They may separate with 3 stages. Early stage, also we call acute stage. Later on, middle stage, and the later stage. So acute stage usually happens people got infections after 2 to 4 weeks. General symptoms, fever, tired, and maybe sore throat, and some lymph nodules getting bigger. Some patients maybe have skin rash, not happens for everybody. Some people got infected for long term. They just feel tired. Yeah, they don't know what happened. And if checking for the blood cell, the number is decreased. And the middle stage, that's a long-term problem. So people can carry the virus many years. Yeah, many years. Maybe no symptoms. Maybe after acute stage, and then some symptoms, most symptoms is disappeared. People just let it be tired. But if you go to laboratory test, they still have virus in the blood circulation. And some virus in the lymph nodules. And the later stage is most severe stage. In this stage, people truly sick, like people always fever, always tired, always got infection in somewhere, like happens in the lung. The lung is pretty easily got infected area. And also possible people got cancer. That's just a special kind of cancer. It happens everywhere inside the body. That happens inside the mouth. That happens on the skin area. So that's basically later stage. The patient is very severe kind of sick. And certainly severe kind of sick may cause the people die. So laboratory diagnosis, we still try to find the virus. We can test from antibody. If patient have special kind of antibody, means they got special kind of virus infections, because that belongs to special kind of immunity function. So that's usually we do the test. But we know antibody It's not like people just got sick and just have antibodies. Usually take 10 to 14 days. So that means if people like thinking about got infection for eyes, they go to test immediately. If positive, that's make a diagnosis. If negative, they may be need to test second time after at least 14 days or maybe after a month. So treatment. Like we're talking about other virus illness. Generally say we don't have special kind of like immediately cure the virus. We can reducing the amount of the virus, and we also can build up immunity system. But we couldn't truly cure all the virus, so that the treatment truly take a long term and not truly totally cure it. Prevention, we know how it transmits, we know how to prevent it. So we say avoid to like got virus attacking, especially to sex activities and for the blood. So we still not effective vaccine for this kind of virus. So preventing way is try to not get it transmission. So that's